Firstly, thank you very, very much for the kind invitation to join you and celebrate all of your successes. It really is an honour to be here. I ran out of fingers and, to be honest, nearly toes trying to work out how long it is since I sat exactly where you are now, listening to the superb broadcaster Jane Garvey speak to us about her time at Merchants and her career as a broadcaster. There's probably teachers in this room who will confirm that maths was never my strong point, but I think it must be about 20 years, which makes me feel quite old. I spent some very happy years at Merchants, made friends that I keep to this day, and I particularly enjoyed visiting a few weeks ago and seeing how much has changed at the school in the interim, but at the same time, how much is really still very familiar. I'd like to congratulate all of the award winners today. It was an honour to present you with your prizes. I'd also like to congratulate all of you here who didn't receive prizes today. Today's event is about celebrating everything all of you have achieved, whether you received a prize on this stage or not. To start with, I'd like to do a quick exercise with you. Don't worry, really easy. Shut your eyes. Everybody. Teachers, governors, choir, everybody. I want you to think of something you've done in the last 12 months that made you proud. Something you achieved. Something you did to the very best of your ability. Anything at all. It doesn't have to be academic. It could be sport, art, even learning to drive and passing your test. Maybe you helped in your community, raised money for charity, assisted someone in need. Have you got something on your mind? Hold that thought. Now I want to think how that moment made you feel. Was it elation, excitement, satisfaction? Was it a buzz? Was it pride? You can open your eyes now. Remember that feeling. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could bottle it and take it everywhere with us? And use it as a reminder on days when maybe things aren't going quite so well, how life can feel at times. I'll share one of my most recent moments with you. At exactly 5:25 p.m, and 31 seconds to be exact, on the 10th of April 2021, Rachel Blackmore and her mount Manila Times crossed the winning line just up the road from here at Aintree Racecourse. In doing so, she made history, becoming the first female jockey to win the Grand National in its 182-year history. If there had been a crowd there, they'd have gone wild. It would have been quite a moment. But sadly, the usual 65,000 strong crowd were instead part of the 10 million watching from home. There were her fellow competitors, trainers, officials, and a small but select group of press and media to make sure the occasion was marked, but it should have been so different. 9 minutes earlier, and 31 seconds, it was a historic moment for me. I became the first female in 182 years to ever take charge of organising the Grand National. On the other side of the coin, just 13 months earlier, I'd overseen the first complete cancellation of the Grand National since World War II. But it wasn't me on the front page. Did that matter? Not at all. The sense of pride and, to be honest, relief in successfully taking the reins of my first Grand National was huge. It was sad that it was behind closed doors, but that actually made it even more of a challenge as we grappled in the lead-up with a whole range of previously unconsidered things. The increased potential for security breaches, the health screening of those who did attend for work purposes, social distancing, enforcing the wearing of face coverings, and even the segregation of horses, stable staff, trainers and jockeys travelling from Ireland away from their British counterparts. To call it a challenge was an understatement, really. But whenever the going does get tough, and maybe I'm tired after a long week of early starts and late finishes, the prospect of feeling that elation, that pride in the achievement of the teams I work with and of myself keeps me going, even though I wasn't the one receiving the prize at the end of the race. A career in horse racing wasn't what I'd planned when I finished school. I considered law, journalism. I spent hours looking at the hundreds of graduate roles available with all sorts of organisations. But between leaving school and finishing university, there was something about horse racing that really got under my skin. I'd never really considered the possibilities that working in any sport brought other than by competing. But in any sports stadium, large or small, there's marketeers, sales teams, caterers, security teams, maintenance, ground staff, accountants, and that's before you even start on the officials involved in running racing: starters, judges, stewards to ensure the rules are enforced, vets, doctors. Beyond that, broadcasters, journalists, camera operators, producers, editors, the list goes on. My own role is one that is unique to racecourses, however, and one that I only came across once I started to work in the sport. There are only about 50 people qualified as a clerk of the course in Great Britain, and our role is to act as the person who oversees the sport element on a racecourse. The scope of the role is broad, ranging from taking overall responsibility for the preparation of the turf and the obstacles, to planning which races to run, how to distribute prize money, and to even organising the race day themselves, including organising briefing and overseeing the doctors, paramedics, farriers, ground staff, and all the others who come together to make a race day happen. Take that to the scale of the Grand National, and I'm directly what I call conducting an orchestra of over 300 people during the 3 days of the Grand National Festival. Talking about being proud of your achievements, there are a couple of lessons I believe horse racing can teach us. At the end of a horse race, let's say the Grand National, there's usually only one winning horse. Only one owner, one trainer, one jockey who takes home the trophy and the winner's prize money. Only one training yard will have a celebration with their staff and perhaps a parade through their local town or village. But there were 40 horses and jockeys who lined up on that start line, representing all of the people involved in getting them there. Were they all disappointed and down at the end? I bet you not. Undoubtedly, not winning will be a disappointment for some, but I can guarantee every single one of them has something to be proud of just to reach the point of lining up in that famous race. A trainer proud to have trained a horse good enough to be taking part. A jockey proud to be considered talented enough to partner a horse around the course. A groom proud to see the horse that they take care of day in, day out, gleaming in his or her coat, and heading out onto the course looking fit, healthy, lively, and raring to go. Ultimately, it's more important to be proud of what you have achieved and knowing you've done it to the very best of your ability than to take home a trophy. In a similar vein, I spent 2 years as a secretary to a racehorse trainer, Lucinda Russell, based in Scotland. Lucinda actually won the Grand National with one for Arthur in 2017. My role there combined exercising horses in the morning, alongside office work, including entering horses for races, keeping owners updated on the well-being of their horses, invoicing, booking farriers and vets, amongst all sorts of other things. During my time there, I developed upon a horse called Low Reactor, or Tor, as we called him. I rode him most days and really treated him like my own. However, Tor had one problem that is in fact quite a big problem for a racehorse. He really wasn't very fast. Don't get me wrong, he was fast compared to the average horse, but he was very slow compared to the average racehorse. However, his owners doted on him, as did I, and they wanted to persevere with his training and his racing career and see what he could achieve. His first run while I was looking after him was at Carlisle Racecourse. The good news for Tor that this race was over 3¼ miles, so none of the other horses were going to be going that fast either. The tapes went up and the field set off with Tor in hot pursuit. To his credit, he was a very good and careful jumper, so that helped him over the steeplechase fences, but he really was still quite slow. The race took 6 minutes and 52 seconds to run. Much to our amazement, in the final few furlongs, Tor plugged on and bagged himself a worthy second place. Far better than any of us imagined. I was proud of him. His next race was to be 3 weeks later at Newcastle. I can confirm in the space of 3 weeks he still hadn't become any faster. But he was well in himself and we were excited to see what he could do. His good run at Carlisle meant that he went off as the joint favourite for the race. This was a slightly shorter distance, but it was still 6 minutes and 14 seconds of nerve-wracking watching. I'm pleased to say that he won the race by an easy margin, and there was a lot of screaming, shouting, celebrating and punching of the air. Did I feel proud? Certainly did. But there was a more important lesson for me, which I've taken along with me in my career. Every horse in our amazing sport is loved and cared for by so many people. Tor's win that day was the only one of his career, but it meant the world to me. He meant more than you could imagine to Nigel and Suzanne, his owners. He might as well have won the Grand National for all we cared. He won just under £4,000 for winning that race in 2007. In 2022, the winner of the Grand National will take home $500,000. They are worlds apart, and here's the lesson. The team behind Tor, his owners, his jockey, the person who makes his feed every day, the farrier that put on his shoes, even me, had every right to feel proud about what had been achieved that day, even though it wasn't the Grand National. It's not just the big days and the big races that mean the most. Yes, those days are a bonus, but don't be afraid to, and you'll be getting this now, be proud of everything you achieve when you know you've done the very best you can. Can racehorses feel pride? Probably not in the way we do. But when you watch horses race each other around a field or run on a racecourse, they definitely know what it means to lead and be in front. And if you ask anyone who works with racehorses if they know when a horse has won, they'll tell you they definitely do. So please, as your lives go on and you build your careers, in whatever field they may be proud of what you do. Live your life in a way that means you can be proud of always giving your best effort. Treat any prizes and trophies as a bonus, and know in your own heart when you've done well. Feel it for yourself and be proud of it. Thank you.